Hi, this is Will Frazier for Opinions of Value. 5 factors affecting the discount for lack of marketability. Now, there's certainly more than 5 factors affecting the discount for lack of marketability, but I think that these will cover most of the major points. Number 1, the likelihood of an exit. Is the subject company likely to go public or sell? Now, going public is not a viable option for most companies, but the sale of a company is always a possibility. And just because a company isn't for sale now doesn't mean that it won't sell later. But for a minority shareholder who has no control over the sale of the company, can't cause the company to be sold, the wait could be a very long and indeterminate one. Now, using DealStat's database, I recently did a search of private U.S. manufacturing companies sold in the U.S. between 2013 and 2017. The average age of the company when it was sold was 32. But there was one company that was 217 years old. So for the shareholders of that company, that was quite a long wait. So obviously, the less likely the probability of a sale, the higher the discount. Number 2, does the company pay dividends or make distributions? Now, especially in today's low interest rate environment, a company that regularly pays dividends is very desirable. So a private company that does this will be subject to a lower discount for lack of marketability or a minority interest in such a company. Now, some pass-through entities such as S corporations and limited liability companies will frequently, or they most often will, make distributions to cover the tax liabilities of their shareholders and the members. Now, this is certainly not a bad thing, but it is not a major benefit with respect to the discount for lack of marketability because it doesn't provide any discretionary income. Number 3, operational risk. The riskier the company, the higher the discount. Why? Because the riskier the company, the more likely there is a default, such that the default risk is higher than the probability of an exit. So what are some of the risk factors? Well, the size of the company is a major risk factor. Larger companies are less risky than small companies. Leverage, debt certainly adds risk. Cyclicality. Cyclical companies are more risky than companies which are not cyclical. Profitability. Well, this goes without saying. Companies that are more profitable are less risky. Growth. A stagnant or declining company is certainly a negative factor with respect to risk. Number 4, contractual or governance issues. The resale of stock may be controlled or governed by certain contractual provisions such as buy-sell agreements. Now, this depends upon the language of the buy-sell agreement. It can be a positive or a negative. And so careful review of the terms and the definitions of value are extremely important with respect to buy-sell agreements. The right of first refusal. Now, this is usually a negative because if a willing seller intends to sell his or her interest in a company, the existence of a right of first refusal would tend to cause a potential buyer to be concerned about their ability to complete a transaction, knowing that the company or other shareholders in the company have the right to repurchase the shares issued. Put or call provisions, very much like the buy-sell agreement, this can be a significant negative with respect to the resale of securities, depending upon the language in the put or call provisions. And the history of redemptions. Now, this cuts both ways. If there is a history of redemptions in the company, this would tend to make a willing buyer believe that there is a possibility of a resale at some point. On the other hand, the absence of any history of redemptions can work the other way. Well, that concludes our 3-part series on the discount for lack of marketability. So until next time, this is Will Frazier saying, I hope my opinions are of value to you.